and is not thought to have been on any official watch lists.
Well, let's discuss the implications of all of this and the security issues clearly facing France. Olivier Guiter has joined us, a French security expert and managing director of Global Strat. Thank you for being here. And Marco Vicenzino, the director of the Global Strategy Project and a political risk analyst. Gentlemen, thank you. And 3 serious attacks in France in the space of just 18 months. What's your thoughts as to why? Why France? Why not lots of other countries that we could name?
It's a new reality for Europe, a new status quo. Much of it goes back years. I mean, France was seeing attacks on its soil in the 1990s with a similar type of jihadist mindset. Much of that in the 90s had to do with the Algerian civil war going on at the time. So France, it's maybe the magnitude of the terrorism, see the magnitude of the deaths involved, yeah, that's much different from the 1990s. Much of it has to do also with France's ventures overseas as part of a Western alliance against jihadist movements, not just in the Middle East, but we're also talking in Africa. So this new reality of Europe is not so much a new reality for countries in the Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia. For them, for example, in the early morning hours of July 8th, they had a massive car truck bomb in Baghdad, which claimed probably more than 300 lives. So that's their reality. It's on a different scope and it's on a different level. But in this terms is that, I mean, you look even at American societies, you have the organized attacks and then you have the lone wolf attacks. The lone wolf attacks are the biggest, say, for law enforcement authorities, the biggest challenges. But if this proves, for example, to be a lone wolf attack, having claimed 84 lives, in the US we had the attacks in Orlando, 49 lives, you cannot profile many of these attackers. There's no single road to radicalization. So they're struggling right now at present.
Can I just, I mean,
sure.
I'll bring in Olivier in a moment,
Sure.
but lots of nations are involved in military campaigns. It's not France on its own, so why? I just wonder whether people watching will think, why have we seen 3 really big attacks in one specific country? Why not here in the UK, for example? Why not
well,
other...
the UK, they do try, and they have tried many times. They've been thwarted. It's more difficult for them to enter the UK. Go into France, I was referring to its foreign policy. Then you have to look at the inside of France also. There's been issues of integration, and there's a huge debate internally that's been going on for decades, because there are many people from the former colonies who now live in France, have not been able to integrate. And you see some of the highest levels of recruits to ISIS are from countries like Belgium and France. And this individual, remember, he's a Tunisian national, and some of the highest recruits from the Middle East to ISIS is specifically from Tunisia. There, it's different reasons for radicalization. But once again, there's no single way, there's no single road to radicalization. What I mean by that, in each society, there are similar but also very different reasons, whether it's integration internally in the country or a nation's foreign policy, which can even radicalize individuals on the inside of their country. Young Muslims in France, for example, have not integrated. They're looking at TV at night and they see Middle Eastern societies, they see conflict or war. A very simple narrative can develop, and ISIS has used a very simple narrative, and that simple narrative has been an effective one, particularly on the airwaves.
Okay.
Olivier, is that your reading of this as well?
Yes, I'll go deeper into the reasons why France has been attacked. I mean, I would point out 4 reasons. The first one is since the time of the colonialism, the issue with Algeria is indeed one of the points. Al-Qaeda had France as a top 3 target, but Islamic State has France as #1 target, even ahead of the US. The second reason is being that jihadists view France as an Islamophobic country because of the laws that they pass, for instance, the ban of the burqa. So that's something that they've talked time and time again. Number 3 is that, as Marco mentioned, France has been really the gendarme when it comes to fighting jihadists around the world, much more so than the UK and the US under the Obama administration. They've been present in Mali, in Syria, in Libya, you name it. The French special forces have been all over, and especially under President Hollande. The fourth reason would be linked to the fact that France has the highest number of foreign jihadists in the West, in Syria and Iraq, over 2,000 that traveled there. So statistically, when you look at the UK or Germany that had between 600 and 800 of their citizens go there, that's one of the points. But then the last one is that, interestingly, for the first time, Islamic State has within its board, its top leadership, 2 Frenchmen. And so I assume when discussions are happening, which countries to target, the French are very influential within the board, if you will, of Islamic State to say, we want to target France again and again.
I was struck by the two of those four reasons that you gave in the middle of that list. Those middle two were both matters of French policy, voted upon by the French public at regular intervals in elections. So this is not an argument, presumably, for changing French policy because it makes the country more vulnerable.
Yes, and I don't think that it will have an impact. You're right, we're looking at the French domestic policy. And you have to remember, after the November attacks, the French were much more aggressive on attacking Islamic State in Syria. They switched from Iraq to Syria, and they specifically targeted training camps of French jihadists. And I suspect this will happen again because yesterday the head of French intelligence said that they knew exactly who was the main mastermind for the November attacks.
And so given the pressures on France, internal, external, you both touched on those, does that mean that the task facing France's intelligence services is just far, far bigger than that facing Britain, Germany, lots of other countries we could name?
It's all of them. Because remember, in Europe we have Schengen, at least for now. And when Schengen is passport-free travel zones. Many of these jihadists, whether they're going from Europe into Syria and Iraq and then coming back, it's not too easy. Many of them have exploited the migration of over 1 million people in 2015. So this is a challenge for all security intelligence services, and particularly for Turkey also. Turkey has people going in and out of their borders, and many times Turkish authorities have even alerted Western intelligence authorities about who's coming in and out. For example, in Belgium, some of them were reported by the Turkish authorities, and nothing happened. So as a result, there needs greater cooperation and coordination between Western intelligence services, and I mean the US, Western Europe, and internationally beyond that also. So it's not just a French problem, this is a global problem.
Sure. Olivier, just your quick thoughts on that as well.
Yes, I think that for the time being, in terms of probability, France will be most likely targeted by jihadists, but Italy and Spain have been mentioned time and time again as major targets. The UK, I would put to you, as down the food chain, if you will.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you both very much.
Thanks
to Olivier
Thank you for being
and
with us.
Marco Vicenzino. Thank you very much.
You're watching BBC News. Just a reminder now of the main developments on this breaking news story here today. And France has